Debt-built world. The story of money, trust, and illusion. When you look at the world on a map, you see colored borders, trade routes, mountains, and seas. But there's something invisible too. A massive web woven from numbers debt. Today, every country on Earth is in debt. This is not an exaggeration. It's a stark fact. The United States, its debt has passed $38 trillion, one of the highest levels in human history. The European Union carries around $14 trillion. Japan is nearly $9 trillion in debt. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia can't escape borrowing Germany, China, France. They are all part of the same game. But here's where the real question starts. If everyone is in debt, who are we borrowing from? It sounds simple, but the answer stretches deep into human history. Because debt is not just an economic concept, it's also power trust and the system itself. Debt, the invisible architecture of the modern world. Debt is like an invisible scaffold holding up the pillars of the modern world. Every war, every revolution, every economic miracle has it behind it. Every dollar in our pocket is actually a form of a debt note. It's such a deep structure. If you pull on one end, the whole system creaks. But how did we get here? How did humanity weave a debt network worth $315 trillion that even it struggles to explain? 1694. The birth of debt. The story begins at the end of the 17th century. England and France embroiled in endless war. The royal treasury is empty gold, reserves, depleted trade ports, shaken. The King of England turns to merchants in desperation. "Give us gold," he says, "and we will pay you back with interest in the future." This simple deal became a turning point in history. In 1694, the Bank of England is founded, and the world learns something new. A state can spend money it does not yet have. This idea of mortgaging the future would change not just England, but the whole world. Government bonds appear. They are a promise. Hold this paper, and I will pay you in the future. And people start trusting that promise. Gold is replaced by paper. Paper is replaced by trust. Soon, France, Holland, and later America copy the system. Even the newly formed United States finances its independence war this way. Debt becomes a sign of strength, not weakness. The more you can borrow, the more powerful you are. Once, empires conquered lands for gold. Now, they issue bonds for interest. The battlefield slowly moves from land to ledger. 3 centuries later, the global reign of debt. Fast forward to the 21st century. Debt is no longer just a financial tool. It has become a way of life. The U.S. debt has passed $38 trillion. Japan owes 2.5 times its GDP. Europe keeps borrowing within itself. The global economy adds $1 trillion of debt every 100 days. Today, everyone is in debt. Governments, companies, even individuals. But everyone is also a creditor, because the money you pay to the bank becomes someone else's investment fund. A country's debt becomes another country's savings. The world has drawn a circle. The world owes itself. The anatomy of the debt chain. Take the U.S., for example. Half of its total debt is not owed to foreign entities, but to investors within the system. Most of these investors are American banks, pension funds, and the Federal Reserve. The remaining third, roughly $9 trillion, is owed to foreign nations. Japan is the largest. Then China, the United Kingdom, Luxembourg. So, the U.S. owes China is correct, but incomplete. Most of the debt is actually within the U.S. system. The government issues bonds. Banks buy them. The central bank buys them back, and this cycle creates new dollars. The U.S. is both debtor and creditor. Debt becomes a mirror. Everyone owes their own reflection. Have you ever wondered how the world's economy really works? It's not about gold bars locked in a vault anymore. It's something much stranger, a giant global game of hot potato, but the potato is made of promises. Picture this: Japan buys U.S. bonds. With that money, the U.S. helps fund Europe through the International Monetary Fund. Europe then lends that money to developing countries through the World Bank. And what do those countries do with their earnings? They invest them right back into Western bonds. It's a massive, interconnected loop. Everyone is buying everyone else's promises. The entire system only works as long as everyone agrees to keep playing the game. But behind this cycle of governments, there's an even bigger, more invisible power: the markets. We're talking trillions of dollars swirling around in hedge funds, central banks, and giant investment firms. These aren't just numbers on a screen. They have become the ultimate arbiters of a nation's fate. When these titans of finance lose trust in a country's ability to pay its debts, the consequences are swift and brutal. Interest rates skyrocket, the currency collapses, and governments can fall. It is a shocking new reality. Trust in a country's finances has become more powerful than democracy itself. Democracy might decide who gets to govern, but the markets decide which governments get to survive. So, who are the high priests of this new religion of finance? They're the central bankers. In the old days, the church had the power to forgive sins. Today, central banks have the almost magical power to create money out of thin air. Every time they buy a government bond, new money enters the system. Think about that for a second. One person's debt becomes another person's asset. In our modern world, not a single dollar exists that isn't tied to a debt somewhere. This entire engine runs on one simple fuel: trust. As long as investors believe governments will keep paying the interest on their bonds, the machine keeps humming along. But the moment that trust wavers, the whole thing can grind to a terrifying halt. We've seen it happen. Remember Greece in 2010? The world watched in real time as a modern economy teetered on the brink of collapse. When Greece couldn't pay its debts, bondholders panicked. Interest rates shot through the roof, and the economy nearly seized up. The IMF and the European Central Bank stepped in to rescue them. But that salvation came at a crippling price: brutal austerity measures, higher taxes, and mass unemployment. The very cure became a burden for the Greek people. And it's not just Greece. We've seen similar stories play out in Argentina, Sri Lanka, and even Turkey back in the 90s. When a country can no longer pay its debts, the true owners of the system reveal themselves: the IMF, the rating agencies, and a faceless crowd of anonymous investors. A nation's sovereignty, its very independence, can evaporate inside an Excel spreadsheet. Here's the part that might break your brain. Most governments today have absolutely no intention of ever fully paying off their national debt. It sounds crazy, right? But the debt isn't designed to be repaid. It's designed to be rolled over. New bonds are issued to pay off the old ones in a perpetual cycle. If you or I borrow money, we have to pay it back. But for a country, debt is more like an endless subscription service, and the interest payments are just the fee for keeping the global economic order running. It's like a shark that has to keep swimming or it dies. The system has to keep creating debt to survive. Just look at the world's largest economies. The United States will almost certainly never pay off its trillions in debt. Japan hasn't for decades. It just keeps rolling it over. And yet, the demand for their bonds never seems to fade. For the biggest players, debt isn't a burden. It's the ultimate asset. It's seen as the safest possible investment, the bedrock of the entire financial world. In this strange new era, the most powerful nations aren't managing their economies, they're managing trust. So what would happen if, one day, the US government announced, "We're doing it. We're paying off every single dollar of our national debt"? It sounds like a heroic act, right? A moment of ultimate fiscal responsibility. But the reality would be an absolute catastrophe. Global banks, pension funds, your retirement account, they all rely on the safety and stability of those government bonds. If the debt were suddenly paid off, that safe asset would vanish. The world's money supply would shrink dramatically, markets would freeze, and we'd plunge into a deflationary spiral. It's the ultimate paradox. Paying off the debt would destroy the very system it's a part of. And that's why governments don't just keep issuing debt, they do it systematically. Debt has become the very heartbeat of modern capitalism. You'll often hear politicians on the campaign trail making bold promises. We'll balance the budget, or we will pay down the national debt. But in the halls of power, everyone knows the truth. The real goal isn't to eliminate debt, it's to keep it at a level that seems sustainable. Because the actual number, whether it's 30 trillion or 50 trillion, is less important than the belief that it can be managed. The moment that belief, that trust, is lost, no number matters. Markets crash, interest rates soar, and the world as we know it can stop overnight. The grand plan was never to repay the debt. The plan was to make the world keep believing in the promise of it forever. But this system isn't neutral. When we say the world owes the money to itself, it's a convenient half-truth. Because while everyone is technically part of this web of debt, not everyone benefits equally. Where do the massive interest payments on government bonds come from? They come from the labor and taxes of ordinary working people. And where does that money flow? It flows to the financial institutions, the wealthy individuals, and the pension funds that hold those bonds. So, debt isn't just a transaction between countries, it's a massive, ongoing transfer of wealth from the working class to the financial class. As global debt has risen, so has global inequality. This system inherently rewards those who already have money and punishes those who rely on their labor to get by. It's a cycle as old as time, one that makes us both the creators of the system and its prisoners. As long as trust continues today, debt is no curse, it's the language of the system. Money is backed not by gold, but by trust. And as long as that trust continues, the numbers will keep growing. But if trust ever falters, the world will remember. Debt is never meant to be held forever. Perhaps the issue is not to pay off debt, but to remember what debt truly means. Because history is not a story of money. It's a story of trust, and trust, like empires once broken. All that remains are the promises. If this story made you look at the world with new eyes, then it has done its job. Because the true power of history is not to tell the past, but to help you understand the present. History never sleeps. Let me show you the truth. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of debt. Join us and subscribe like button. Write the topics that interest you in the comments. We will prepare them for you. See you in the next video.